We are ready to support the best and most well thought out projects of big corporations and of small and medium business.
It was a pledge to hundreds of business leaders that Russia will try to bridge the gap in economic cooperation with the Asia-Pacific region. Vladivostok is located 10,000 kilometers from Moscow, and keeping Far Eastern Russia economically competitive has been a challenge for Putin. But looking to Asia is proving a step in the right direction for the resource-rich region. Chinese President Xi Jinping is a new face at this year's forum, and he'll look to leave a big first impression. That's because he's brought along his vision to create a new Silk Road, and he needs Russia's support to power up the project.
Russia attaches great importance to the China-proposed Belt and Road Initiative. The initial thing for both sides is to find a conjunction of common interests. Then we can make joint efforts to promote the project and the Eurasian Economic Union to hopefully bring new energy.
Russia is ready to benefit from Sino-Russia trade, which amounted to $87 billion in 2017. Speaking at the opening of the forum, Putin said he expects that figure to hit a record $100 billion this year. In fact, the two countries have already signed their first major deal at the forum. China's Alibaba and Russian tech firm Mail.ru have agreed to set up a $2 billion joint venture focused on gaming and shopping. Other than trade, deteriorating ties with the US is bringing the two closer. The US is threatening more sanctions on Russia and more tariffs on China. At the forum, Putin and Xi agreed to use their own currencies more often in trade deals, reducing their reliance on the dollar. The Chinese leader also made clear their united front on trade.
China and Russia will strengthen our good cooperation in international affairs. We will jointly fight against unilateralism and trade protectionism.
And the friendship is one they'll want to keep alive, as both countries brace for more pain from US penalties. Laila Humairah, TRT World.
For more, let's bring in our editor-at-large, Craig Copetas in Paris. Hello there, Craig. What is Russia trying to do in this, in staging this summit and this very large military exercise on the East at the same time?
Well, Ash, first I'd like to wish you a happy anniversary, as it was 10 years ago this week that Lehman Brothers went out of business for peddling hinky mortgage-backed securities, triggering the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression.
And we will be covering that later this week.
Right. Well, the Chinese are already celebrating with their colleagues from China in Vladivostok. You know, so far this year, China has issued $100 billion of mortgage-backed securities a la Lehman. Now, Lehman only managed to issue $85 billion in junk mortgages before it collapsed and drowned the economy in $619 billion of debt. So what are they trying to do here? Well, what they're trying to do is to supplant the systems that are in place and essentially turn one belt, one road into the Chinese communist/Russian kleptocracy version of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, Russia and China are using platforms such as these forums to position themselves as the bastions of globalization and free trade, a mantle that was once held by the US, not anymore under Donald Trump, right?
Right. Well, you look, the Chinese are in the business, or I should say, One Belt, One Road so far has been in the business of global misery. Now, the IMF and the World Bank are just broken. They need to be fixed. Something has to be done about this global debt, because the person who controls the global debt controls everything. Now, Laila was talking about a deal that went down there, a very significant deal that Alibaba did. They took a 10% stake in this Mail.ru group. Well, this is a joint venture, and you know who part of this joint venture is as? It is the Russian Sovereign Wealth Fund. So this is just as much of a political alliance as well as it is an economic alliance that they're trying to pull off in a currency that is not the standard global currency, the United States dollar.
Yeah, the interesting thing, though, the other interesting thing is that, I mean, Russia wants to attract investments to its Far East, but Russia is not regarded as the paragon of great corporate governance, plus the weather in that part of the world sucks. But what can Russia offer China and Japan? In particular, what can Russia offer Japan that China can't?
Well, I've heard this talk about Russia, what can Russia offer Japan since Brezhnev was in power and doing deals with Mao. And the first foreign construction out in Moscow at the time was built by the Japanese, and they ended up selling them a lot of Japanese heavy equipment. The Russian Far East can offer the Japanese, I think, very little. The Chinese, what they want here is they want to be in cahoots with Putin's kleptocracy and, of course, Putin's military power, which is why they're having this military exercise at the same time. You know, the goal here, and I think it has to be repeated again, is these guys want their One Belt, One Road system to replace the IMF and the World Bank. In a currency that's not the US dollar. Now, why do I keep harping on this? Because I know that I do, and the reason is that since Bretton Woods in 1944, the US dollar has been the reserve currency of the world. And because of the various debt crises and financial crises that are going on right now around the world, China wants to apply its money around the world to take control of debt, and they now want to do it with Russian help.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there for now. Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you.